Hi there, everybody. So, Klarna, I'm the marketing director, Chris. Everybody calls me Chris, I'm Christian Cabau. Something happened 4 years ago. That's when we realized we needed to be reborn into a digital-first world. Why? Because something is rotten in the world of banking and financials. This is a really, really boring industry. Is there anyone in banking here? Good, I'm only offending one person, fantastic. But you only need to do a Google search to realize I'm correct. Like, millennials really, really hate the guts out of banks. According to studies, 71% of millennials rather visit the dentist than go to the local bank manager. Like 71%. I don't know about you guys, but going to the dentist is definitely not top of my list. 33% describes banks using unflattering terminology, and only 8% would trust banks to manage their money, basically. Like, this is really, really bad, especially for someone who just a few years ago got a bank license. So the best thing we can do is pretty much say, we're not a bank. That seems crazy. We need to convince people. We need to talk to them. Marketing can surely achieve this, right? Well, enters next problem. Marketing fatigue, advertising fatigue. 76% of the young audience is negative to mobile advertising. So they hate our guts, and there's no way of reaching them to tell them otherwise. How do we solve for this equation? How do we work things out? How do we become something else? Because the industry is obviously not doing well at all. Because this is what the industry looks like. Not too exciting, rather blue, one might say. Bank of America, truly the pioneer here, adding a splash of red. But then again, America, right, comes with sort of the name. And we were one of those. You see Klarna in there. We were not doing better because we had adapted to the industry. 4 years ago, we realized we need to do something. Because this is what happens when you search bank and financial. This is a stock image of banking and financials. It's not really targeting the right side of the brain, is it? Anyone who knows who this is? Anyone? Any millennials in here? Anyone who knows who this is? Hand up. Congratulations, there's quite a few. This is Lady Gaga. She's sort of famous. But it's not Lady Gaga I'm talking about. It's what she represents. She represents pop culture. This is what gets people excited. Just looking at this graph, things are happening. Fireworks is happening within your brain. This is emotional stuff. This is what gets people really into it. This sparks excitement. People want to talk about this. If you have 5 minutes over, you want to go to your phone. You want to get involved, get engaged. What's happening in the world? What's happening within sports, with your favorite team, in music, in arts? This is appetite for the senses. This is where people want to be. This is experiences. So understanding that we're coming from this blue world with safety and security and banking and figures and rationality, and people are craving for something else, for convenience, for simplicity, for activating emotions. We needed to change. We needed to do something drastic. We needed to disrupt this industry. Because this is really at the heart of it. People don't care about brands. They care about the feeling it creates. And this is really important to understand the difference. People don't care about the abbreviation BMW. That means nothing. But the joy of driving means everything. People don't care about sugared water with a sparkle of caffeine. But the thrill and excitement of a Red Bull is amazing. This holds true for no frills brand as well. People don't care about Lidl, but they care about scoring a bargain, about that feeling you get when you bought something that you can't get any cheaper anywhere else. Some brands really understand this. They take it to the limits. Nike, for instance. No one actually cares about the abbreviation or the Greek goddess Nike, but they care about accomplishing things, about standing for something, even if it means sacrificing everything. Now, some brands are really understanding this. We knew we need to become one of those brands. So what did we do? Our thinking, super easy, super simple. Be unreasonable. Because looking at the banking industry and trying to adapt, being rational, working towards the left side of the brain is clearly not working. Clearly not getting anyone excited. So we need to do the opposite of what all the banks are doing. So when they are complex, we're transparent. When they're stiff, we're quirky. When they don't understand what's going on in the world, we create popular culture. That is being disruptive. So, what are we trying to accomplish? Turn boring payments into a lifestyle brand. Now, if someone would have said this to you guys 4 years ago, that's quite an achievement looking at the industry. Trying to do exactly the opposite of what everybody thinks is possible. Turn boring payments into an emotional shopping experience. Why? Because we knew we need to become the brand for a new generation of online shoppers. As I said, millennials are tough. Generation Z is even tougher. It's all about being out there, understanding what's going on. They're really endorsed with all the information, everything at their fingertip. Being at the very forefront of all the globalization, every information piece out there. They love visually stunning material. They want to engage the senses. They really, really put pressure on all the brands out there. Like, if you don't understand how to capture them from the get-go, how to be really qualitative, how to be relevant, how to be authentic for real. And authentic is ironic, by the way, with so many filters out there, but authentic is finding your true voice. Because if there's one thing that Generation Z really demands, it's authenticity. There needs to be a true brand story. They want to have a personal relation to your brand. That means everything you do needs to be reflected in your brand DNA. And that's a really, really tough challenge. So we approach this quite simply. There needs to be executional excellence on all levels. And what we mean by that is it can't just be visually stunning. It just needs to work. We need to understand they want it convenient, smooth, hassle-free. Just make it work. Make it personal to me. We need to act, look, and talk like a lifestyle brand. Because if there's one thing we know is shopping is really, really fun. We like shopping. We like to buy stuff that expresses ourselves or that gets us going places, that achieves stuff. But we don't necessarily like the part of paying for it. So we need to pivot our industry. We need to become much more about the lifestyle part of shopping rather than the boring left side of the brain, rational part of shopping. Saying it is easy, doing it is difficult. And lastly, we needed to break into popular culture because that's where the discussion happens. That's where we need to be relevant. And tapping into popular culture is something a lot of brands are talking about. And that's not doing it. That's piggybacking. That's being number two. We're talking about learning, but you need to be out there trying stuff for the first time because learning says there is someone who's done it before and you can make learnings out of that. But that doesn't impress the new generation. You need to be at the forefront. To be disruptive, you need to try things for the first time, and that's scary. And that takes courage. But some brands are really trying hard, and some brands are succeeding. And I think what we are trying to achieve is really, really interesting. We're not there, we're not fully there, but understanding that people want to have meaningful experiences. They want to be joyful. Understanding that is key. That led us to a very simple concept. If we understand that people just wanted to be relevant for them, convenient, hassle-free, we needed to become smooth, because that's the essence, that's the feeling we want to convey. And not just smooth, because we put an extra O in there, so it's smooth. And that's important. We throw in an extra O. There was already two of them, and we just threw in another one. Why? Because everything we do needs to have some sort of stopping power. There needs to be that element of, wait a minute, I kind of like it. Like, if there's no stopping power, if you're not shaking things up, you would be one of the 99% of brands just going idly by, not doing anything. And I'd much rather be provocative and get a response than just pass idly by. Because being provocative allows me to do two things. People may come to me and say, hey, that was a bit over the top. And then I can apologize. That's very authentic. Bigger brands should do that more often and say, sorry, we might have overstepped it. We might have pushed it too far. Sorry. Or we can do the other thing. We can try and convince them, try and convert them, try to make them understand where we're coming from, what we're trying to achieve. And that's the most powerful thing you can do, convert someone. Someone who's been a detractor turns into an ambassador. That's the most powerful emotion you can ever have. They will be loyal for life. So I think more brands should try this strategy. Don't be be more bold. Try things. So we did try. And the first time we tried was 4 years ago. We said, hey, we need to do something. We need to shake things up. We may be a bank, but the bank industry have done nothing good. Super boring. We need to do something different. We need to shake things up. So we took a hard look at what's the general rules. So the general rules when you do advertising on YouTube, obviously, is lead with your brand, be super interesting in the first 2 seconds, fireworks, explosions, get the attention, and just communicate super, super thoroughly what you want to say. Like, what's the rationality behind what you're doing? So we took all that and twisted it and said, let's just lead with a fish on a slider, a really ugly fish at that. So roll the first movie.
That was smooth. Klarna, smooth payments.
Yeah, so that was definitely not how to behave when you're a bank. It got a lot of attention. People were excited. What's this Swedish bank up to? What's going on? What are they doing? This is not how the industry behaves. So we did the only thing we could do. We tried to up our game. So we released another film. And creating a viral, like, I come from the advertising side. I've heard this so many times in briefs. You cannot do that. But you can ensure that the right ingredients are there. We knew dogs are popular on the internet. We knew at the time these slow-mo, smooth films, visually pleasing films, was really big. And we also know that Star Wars is highly popular on the internet. I'm not saying we did a Chewbacca. I'm just saying Star Wars is highly popular. So we can roll the second film.
That's smooth. Smooth. Klarna, smooth payments.
Yeah, and this blew up. So 9gag, for those of you millennials in the room, picked it up, and it just spread from there. We were on every news outlet, everything from Forbes, Mashable, everything picked it up. What is going on? What is this Swedish bank doing? This is craziness. Reddit fired up hundreds of blogs just on this topic. It was everywhere. It was crazy. It was fantastic. And we rode with that, obviously, creating GIFs, creating all kinds of content, just fueling the campaign. And all of a sudden, we'd achieved our goal. Millennials and Gen Z actually took notice. Hey, this is a bank. They're quite interesting. Something's going on here. So obviously, we needed to up our game again. Can we be even more quirky? Like, is there a limit to how weird we can become? Because we're actually only talking about one thing. We're connecting smooth to our brand. Super simple. And what could be smoother than sound waves hitting skin? Roll film 3.
Smooth payments.
And this really blew up. The campaign was in just a matter of days. It reached 50 million views. It was everywhere. I had the best comment ever written to it. And it's, I don't know what the marketing department at Klarna are doing or smoking, but I sure as hell want some. I think that's the best comment you could ever possibly get from the audience. So what did we do? Obviously, we needed to up our game with one simple idea. Can the smoothest person alive become any smoother? Run movie 4. Fantastic. So that lands us today and here. We just recently did a campaign. We love rebelling against stuff. And as I said, tradition is not something that Generation Z is very fond of. They're not attached to that. They're global citizens. And there's a lot of tradition to rebel against. One of those being that the notion that on a leap year, that's the only time women should be able to propose to men. That's ridiculous. Why aren't we equal in that aspect? Why aren't 50% of women proposing to men? We thought, hey, that's something we should definitely rebel against. So we did. We went with Bea Åkerlund, some famous designer, and designed rings to empower people to propose to one another. So what better way to really rebel than to give tradition the finger? So that's what we did with Bea. We made a statement, a manifesto, and we published it in the most traditional media we can possibly get to. So taking over Svenska Dagbladet, both back and front, doing the same with Aftonbladet. That had never happened before. These are traditional media houses. Why not give the finger to tradition in that place? I specifically love the outdoors placement where we gave tradition the finger neatly just on top of one of our colleagues in the industry. We also got the ring into Hypebeast. And for those of you familiar with Hypebeast, that's where everything happens in pop culture. Like, you just need to be someone to get in there. They don't do collaboration with just anyone. So this was a fantastic accomplishment from the whole team. And obviously, a few days later, someone adhered to our encouraging words about empowerment. And Lady Gaga actually proposed to herself using our rings and being at the heart of pop culture. So what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to change the perception of what a bank is. As I said, coming from an industry that's really blue and boring, we're trying to be pink and exciting and doing something differently. We're not there yet. We're 10% on that journey, as we say ourselves, and we might never get there. But I think we are on a really interesting trajectory. So, key takeaways. Fight indifference with creativity. I think we're talking too much about data, AI, programmatic, that we're suddenly losing the most interesting, most fundamental thing that's out there. That's emotions, sparking interest, desire, being creative. Use data for insights, but spark engagement and excitement. Second one, merge high tech with high touch. Really understand that marketing and product needs to be working together. The moment of truth is when they fire up your app. That needs to tingle all the senses. It needs to be intuitive and work the way it should, but it really needs to be visually stunning. Fantastic. How does it feel to press a button? And lastly, create joyful experiences. And that goes as much for your product, your services, as it does for your marketing. And that's the way we think, that people will start listening to what we have to say again. Thank you.